Hello, guys. I am Pat the Riffer, and we're here. We're talking about the 80s today. We're going to do something a little different. So, we're going to go around the room, and everyone's going to say when we graduated high school. We're all from different ages, different ethnicities, backgrounds, and this is going to be quite the talk. So, we tried this once, and my wasn't recorded, so we're doing it again. so enjoy take two. So, we'll start with you, Mr. Wayne.
I graduated in 1987.
We'll start with your name first. Tell me your last name.
My name is Wayne. Last name is Tushnak.
Okay.
Graduated in 1987.
I'm Buddy Rogers. I graduated in '94. Had to go to summer school to get the diploma.
Hey man, you got it then, right?
Thanks for the
Summer
context.
school was fun like that.
I was supposed to graduate in '93 also, but
Yeah.
1989 was too fun.
No, I get it.
I graduated in '89. I'm Karen.
I'm Allison McLaren. I graduated in 2021.
She's the baby. And I graduated in 2013. I had to think about that. I was like, is it 2012? I should know that. So, the 80s brings us here today. So, there's been a resurgence of 80s culture, from Stranger Things to Fender guitars coming out with cool colors to just people living that people seem to be more wild and free. It seems to be a resurgence from that time. So, we're going to get into it. I got some prompts, and we can start with your varsity jacket. Where's Karen's varsity jacket?
Here we go. Watch my water, man.
I'm interested in your history.
In my history or my jacket?
What have you seen? Where have you been?
Seen. Okay, well, first of all,
What do
we
you
had
know?
like the ugliest volleyball uniforms ever. Did you ever see Dodgeball?
Like the
The movie?
yeah.
Yeah, chick with the lips and that was her volleyball uniform.
Oh,
But
man.
I am from Delco. I went to Marple
Let's get a close up on
Newtown.
that. Can we get a close up?
Yeah, look at all the dust on it, yeah. So there's that.
That's cool.
They were wool
What'd you pay for it?
snaps. I think they were like maybe 50 or 75.
Is that a lot then? Really?
Oh, yeah.
75. Some of them were
What is that
100.
to now? Is that like
I
120?
think my brother's was at least like 110 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, but did he have it embroidered?
Well, yeah, he also,
Oh, say.
which was cool about his wrestling jacket, he had like, I think like 3 different
Like
wrestling
patches?
weights over here, and then he had captain this side, so it
Mm.
really stood
Sounds
out.
special.
Yeah. I have letters, but I never put them on.
You still have them?
Yeah, they're at home.
So is that worth a profit? Could you sell the jacket? Or
No,
anything? I'm not saying you wouldn't. You would, but is that
Oh,
a
I don't
market?
know.
Is there something for that?
I have no idea. Never looked it up.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So,
That's cool.
but yeah,
Thanks for
so
sharing.
these were the Friday night football games. Yeah, I had to have these, and I wasn't rich, so I didn't have my name embroidered. You know, but all the rich kids at my school had, like Brian, and it was like in cursive. It was like,
Yeah, that's
okay,
cool.
I can't talk to him.
No, there was times where maybe you remember this, Al. You remember the Scholastic Book Fair?
Yes.
Right?
Oh my
And
god.
I'd be like, me and my wife were just talking about this, and I'd be like, man, I want to go to the book fair. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I don't have any money. So I'd have to watch like all the rich kids get like all the cool books. I'm like, I wasn't gonna read them anyway. You know what I mean? I'd just get like a free car poster or something. Like that.
Car poster
Just courtesy
stencil.
items. Like,
Here comes Brittany with like 10 bucks. Look, I just bought all these.
like Captain Underpants and all this and all that.
Like Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
yeah, I missed out on all of that.
See,
so-
for us, it was you ordered the books.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
And then
yes.
they came in the
That's
box,
right.
and,
Yeah.
and they
That's
would,
right. It
and,
was
then,
like
and the
that
teacher
paper.
would sit there and hand out your
Like your
books that
name
you
didn't
bought.
get called, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm so poor.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. They would
Yeah.
call your name and you.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh no.
There was a lot of embarrassing things. I know
Oh,
that
no.
in our school, this is creepy, but the nurse used to come to your classroom and they used to do lice checks.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, she'd take tongue depressors. Everybody had their own tongue depressors, and you would stand in front of the class, and the rest of the class was there. Okay, just waiting their turn, and she'd go through, and she'd go, shake. All right, go ahead. You were fine, but there was always that one kid where she's like, "Why don't you go down to the nurse's office, honey?" You know, and you're all going. He got lice, you know. It was always one kid, and I was like, "Please God, don't let me." I think that's why I started praying. Like I put my head down. I'm like, "Please God,
I
don't
was
let me
gonna
have
say, where'd you go to
lice."
school? Like,
What's that?
Yeah, I don't think they
where'd you
did
go to
that
school?
with
That's
us,
crazy.
but I just remember too about like in
Wild.
sports thing in school, you would pick teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they kind of stopped that. I would think, because of the you always pick last kind of deal
Yeah.
or whatever. and-
Disclaimer
but I
for
don't know.
the fans. Sorry, not to interrupt you guys. My son is sick and he is very vocal, so enjoy as we enjoy listening to him yell no. He's in his no phases. So
Yeah, you're right though. You dealt with it. It was like a physical thing. You had to deal with it. It wasn't, oh, come on, right. You dealt with things in the 80s head on. You know what I mean? We were talking on.
And nobody thought that was like a problem. Like you pick teams and you'd be like pick last every time. Nobody was like, oh, that's really mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How it was.
Yeah, but now it's like,
It's like an
I don't know. Hey, no conversations over there. Not about to. But.
I was in schools starting off in Louisiana, then Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi,
Dang.
and Arizona. Dude, I was in a lot of schools. But we had lice checks in all of them, mind you. But I only ever got lice at school. Outbreak in Korea. 1983.
So you brought it over to America.
No, exactly. The whole school. It's like we got notes saying one of your classmates, got my mom tells me, she says I have to go buy special shampoo, and they had these combs, man, and it was like this fine tooth comb, and she decided after checking my sister that that for me it was going to be easier just to shave my head, kind of thing. And I remember cutting all my hair really short, and then the shampoo, yeah.
Do you remember the fluoride tablets too?
I do remember the fluoride.
The pink ones? Do you remember that, Wayne?
And it tasted terrible.
Oh my gosh. You remember they'd give you the fluoride tablets? Did you guys have them?
For what?
For cleaning your teeth.
Yeah.
Everybody would have a toothbrush in the room, and the nurse would come and give you these tablets. They were fluoride or whatever, and then you would chew them up, and then you would spit it out in the sink, and then you would smile, and all the dark pink was the plaque, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to brush your teeth.
That's right. Yep.
Yep, you had to brush your teeth,
They
and
did that for us.
but you never do. You walk around going, So, I mean, some of the 80s was kind of gross considered today, but.
Did you guys notice when it was phasing out? Did you see it changing? Or was it this the
No, it's like any other decade. It takes a few years into the next decade for it to stop. It's kind of like, okay.
to stop or start rather?
Well,
Decade to
either
decade.
or. Okay, in '79, it wasn't like, okay, it's New Year's Day '80.
That's what I'm
Everything
saying.
changes.
That's
No,
what
it
seems
takes
for us.
it takes a couple years.
That's what it feels like.
for
Why does it
things
feel like that for you?
to
I don't
fade
know.
out.
Well, just a second on that. It's just like when 1969 comes out, you think of Jimi Hendrix, you hear, okay, 1969, it sounds like a groovy, colorful time. And then you hear the 70s, you think Black Sabbath. Like you think it all just happened so fast. And being a young person, it doesn't seem real. The 70s and 60s don't sound real.
A good song that explains the generations is We Didn't Start the Fire.
That's a great song. That's a
Billy
good
Joel.
Yeah.
He starts out with this and
He
then
goes through
Every time
he
I
goes through
listen
the
to it,
50s.
Yeah.
He goes
Mhm.
through
All the
what,
happenings
kind of-
and then-
every time I listen to it, I try to hear more of what he's saying, so I can never catch it.
Yeah, because he said somebody came up and they were like, we got all these problems today. You back in the 50s, you didn't have these problems. And he's like, really?
Yeah.
He's like, really? And that's why I did the song to say,
And
a lot of
he's
crap
also
going
saying,
on back then
the
too.
fire started way back
Right,
then. It's
yeah.
like Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red
Right.
China, Johnny Ray, and he's naming all these things. And then when he gets to the 80s, he was like, oh gosh, I'm just thinking of 60s right now, but what does he say? Hypodermics on the shore, rock and roll course, I can't take it. Like, there's always something in every generation, and it just adds on.
I agree with that, yeah. But now,
But you're right, it doesn't have an end.
buddy, you
It
were gonna
just,
say something. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say, buddy? I don't want to get too far without
That's fine. I was going to say academically, I saw a sharp change where when I started school in the 70s, they just didn't have the same kind of testing. And PE was like a free-for-all, with certain games and all this kind of stuff, which you can expect when you're in preschool and kindergarten and all that. But I remember 81, they sat us down and gave us this test. And we're told, this is a brand new test. We haven't really been doing this kind of thing. There's no right or wrong answers, just fill in these little bubbles.
Mhm.
And that came to define my academic progress for the rest of school.
Immediately.
The standardized tests.
Right.
The little.
Oh, he actually.
We did
That's
SATs,
so cool.
No, he's talking about, I think,
They
when I
they
went to
call
school,
them
I
ISO
know
tests.
I don't know what they're called, but they were we did it
The
like,
bubble
every
test?
every
The
year.
multiple
It was like
choice?
every year, and he did it, and it lasted
What's
like
it
2 or
called?
3 days
That's
or
right,
something.
that's
the
right.
testing, and it was all you had to color. You know, you had to take your number 2
Yes.
pencil.
That's right.
And they had that color thing.
So,
Because they would
Yes.
talk. Because they would talk about
I don't know what they call it now. It was originally called the Iowa test, and basically, Jimmy Carter signed signed an act that created the Department of Education. Okay, and that was supposed to be ended in 1980 if Reagan was elected, but Dick Gephardt was not going to let him cancel the Department of Education. So starting in 1981, they started standardizing education, and they needed to know where everybody is. So that test that they used, they gave us all to test and get that baseline of where everybody's at. From then on, they tracked you. And some states had already done this, and I think that's why they went with the Iowa test or whatever. There's the California test and all this. I mean, there were a number of them, because depending on which school I was in, we were given different tests, but it was all the same material. But I remember that being...
Yeah, it was like the one day would be like math, and the other day was like English or something.
Maybe they just didn't give
And
it
you
to
did,
us.
and you did that the whole school day.
Right.
You go to school for 6 hours.
Wait a minute.
It was 6 hours of that all day.
Now I
And
remember,
it went
yes.
over like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I just went through it and I was like, you know, if you don't know it, B. And so I just went, B.
That
So
was
you
the thing. I always said if you don't know C.
No. Well, I guess it's
That's
person's
the thing.
choice. If you don't know it, B. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
I remember that being,
That's
a
profound.
change for me, where it was like a clear delineation. And
Yeah.
again, this wasn't 1980. This was like 80, I think it was 81. I think it was in like first grade. And it may be because I'm in first grade, not kindergarten. So I'd have to defer to these guys. Do you remember taking these tests before then? But I remember just
Not that.
the test, the test
Yeah,
came.
but
So
at
that's
some
probably
point,
when you
at some
did
point,
the
grammar
thing.
school.
That's when I was aware, yeah.
We had tests like that, but it wasn't in first grade. It was like what, 5th, 6th grade we would have to take the PSSAs.
I want to say like start middle school,
Yeah, beginning of middle school.
which for some people is 6th grade. Some people 7th.
That's probably what it was.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
for us back then. Maybe that's what it was.
I mean, like in Philadelphia,
Hours.
middle school was 6 to 8, which is not the same way here. 7 to 8 here,
Mhm.
7 and 8.
which I always thought was like premature. I thought the 6th.
Talk
grade
about
was middle
school. Talk about school where something changed in the 80s was when it was a snow day.
Mhm.
You either A, went to school or it was a snow day. There was none of this.
2-hour delay.
There was none of this 2-hour
Dude,
delay.
they actually
That
suck.
didn't start that till I was in high school.
They suck.
Till I was in high school.
It's a
All of a
false
sudden,
sense of hope.
right? All of a sudden, all of a sudden you're listening. All of a sudden you're listening to the radio, hearing your school be closed, and they go,
Not yours.
they're like, now mine wasn't. I went to Howell High School, but it was part of Freehold Regional High School District. So you had to listen to that. And they're like,
Is that New Jersey?
yeah, and they're like, Freehold Regional High School District on a 2-hour delay. We're like, what did he just say? 2-hour delay. We're like, what the heck is that? And we
Then you
found
have
out.
to squish all your classes.
Yeah,
in.
and then we found out, and it's like you get to school, and it's like half hour later you're eating lunch. You're like, I'm like,
Threw you
what?
off.
Yeah, your whole day's
Your whole day's
Our
gone.
schools used to have a code number, and Marple Newtown was 454. So they would say, they'd be on the radio, and they'd be like, all right, school closings for this. And they go, 399, 450, 452, 451 was, oh, wait. Yeah,
This
we were
is worse.
451.
This is a worse system. This is like watching the lottery.
Yeah, why would it see a number?
I don't know. I have no
idea.
But damn it, they always skipped over our number. And it was like, we had 19 feet of snow out there. They didn't say our number, and it was
Right,
like,
you're going, it's the worst feeling.
oh my gosh. You'd
Yeah.
be like 452, 453, and then you're like 455, and you're like, seriously? But 454, that was the number, so.
Well, now, like, they're giving out tablets, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are keeping track, but your kid comes home with a tablet. If they even think it's gonna snow, they just call it. I mean, seriously, you might not even. And when we were in Georgia before we moved up here last October, like if they thought it was gonna be a storm, like a hurricane was gonna hit, they just phone it in, man. We'd get a hurricane day.
Yeah, I was gonna say not
Yeah.
here.
And then it was just wind, People would like take pictures of a chair kicked over that says "Never forget."
Yes.
I
Yes.
think I've seen that on Facebook or
Yo,
something.
that's so
funny.
good. He says Georgia.
Yeah, that was Georgia,
But I don't really. I think as the time goes on, you notice more. You notice more of things that you used to be able to do in the '80s, but now it's like now you're starting to realize more and more and more. Like, oh my gosh. It's
Plus
this.
two, because we were younger, so we didn't think adults. We didn't think like adults.
Yeah.
You know, now we do, but when we were younger,
I think that's why I had
we didn't think of all the crap that you're gonna think of when you become an adult.
Yeah.
So everything was just
Yeah,
great and it was fun, and you were
Yeah.
like Allie. She's probably like excited about everything and think, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna, like rule the world. So
And I'm in the middle
know?
of it, so like I'm the gap between them and you. And I'm telling you, it's not impossible. I do a lot of things, I'm blessed with a lot of friends that help me do things. Like it's about who you know, so it's not incredibly hard, but it ain't incredibly easy. So it's a lot of work. Like setting this podcast up today, YouTube is hard, man. It's
I
hard.
couldn't do this. Could
Dude,
you guys do
it's
this?
tough.
Could you hook this up?
Well, it's not super hard myself.
Well, I can't because my wife says I use my phone like a doorstop. So
Oh, okay.
I know I'm not a technology person, so I'm just like I'm still stuck in the 80s. I'm like
Yeah.
I don't have time.
No, my
Time
son
for it.
is a year and what, like 8 months old, and I saw him the other day. I got a message. He was watching Bluey on my phone, great show, and he swiped away the message. I was like, at that age, I was like, how did he know that was the motion to do? And it's like I study like the brain and stuff, and like neuroplasticity in kids is so magnificent. Every second they're learning something. It's firing off every second. I swiped once, and he was just like, okay.
You noticed that, right?
Yeah.
Now he always does it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
dude. He said food the other day. What is it like? It's like these things. It's like you dunk them in icing. Dunkaroo. He said the word Dunkaroo, and I was like, "You talk to your mother like that?" I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Kids are so smart. It's crazy.
Yeah, technology's just, I don't know. She like half the time I'll be typing and trying to text me on the phone, text her. Oh my gosh, Mom, just give it to me.
Yeah.
Go boom.
No,
Plans are
because
made, it's just everything, and it's just like, okay, I want to call somebody. That's all I want to do.
no, because it takes her like 5 minutes just to type the.
Okay, you know what?
That's probably
I
it.
think.
That would be like
That's
that.
probably me.
Wait.
I
you know
know,
what?
That's
I've
probably-
seen your dad do this. He would. I'm like, why don't you just look straight?
You
The
know
range is so much easier this way.
From the '80s, we had a lot more patience.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Sure.
I can
These
agree.
days, it's so go, and
Do you remember how long it took to get onto the internet?
Yeah.
We're talking about when the
With the dial-up.
information superhighway.
yeah.
Right.
I'm not talking about like war games. Put a phone on.
Yep.
No, I'm talking about this is set up for you to quickly access information, and you still dialing attempt
Yeah.
1 or 240 of just.
And then you hear that.
Yeah.
Is that what the guy was like running? Like, you got mail. He's like running like slow motion. It's like, I don't know where you're going, but you never have gotten there. You're always
Yes.
running.
That's true. I
And if
forgot about that.
anybody in the house picked up the phone to make a phone call when it was happening,
forget it. I remember
yes,
that.
yeah, it was-
Yo, it's crazy to think like I was born for this. It's nuts.
You know,
Like
it's really weird.
I remember the big phones and everything.
Do you remember call waiting when that was introduced?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember before call waiting,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister would be on the phone all the time, and no one else could get through. And so my grandparents insisted that they get call waiting so that people could get through. Well, my sister just wouldn't answer the call waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, I remember talking to a neighbor or a friend's mom who was a neighbor, and she's like, Wendy can't play right now. She's like, hold on, I have another call. I'm like, how many phones you got? You know? It's like, what?
Some people are ahead of the game, bro.
Yeah, they were ahead of the game, and I was like, and then on my end, like your sister, it was like ringing, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that's just when I'm gonna still here talk to Betsy.
Right.
Right. It was just weird.
So me and Wayne were talking. We work together, by the way. We're inspectors. We're in the aerospace industry. It's pretty cool. New Coke. You guys remember what Coca-Cola was?
It was
This whole
disgusting.
New Coke. Yeah. New
Okay,
Coke.
so it was gross.
No, New Coke was Pepsi. New Coke was Pepsi. Coke took it as, oh no, I guess we're losing to Pepsi, so we're gonna call it New Coke, and it was just Pepsi. It just tasted the same as Pepsi, and all of us were like, We already have Pepsi.
Right.
Coke tastes a
We don't
little
need two
different.
Pepsi.
We
If
don't
I
need two
wanted
Pepsi.
Pepsi, I
Right.
drink Pepsi.
Right.
I drink Coke for a reason.
Right.
So they got the
Right.
gist of it, and then they put old Coke back, but called it classic Coke. So for a time you had new Coke and old Coke, and then they finally just got rid of
Okay.
new
Do you remember the
Coke.
Coca-Cola taste test though?
Yes.
Huh?
Where you'd show
Oh, I
up
did
at
that.
Kmart.
Yeah.
You'd show up at Kmart,
Yeah.
man,
Pepsi
and
Coke.
over by the blue light
Yeah,
special
Pepsi
and the
Coke.
popcorn machine and the icy machine, man.
Yes.
It'd be like
Yes,
this
icy
lady
machine.
sitting out.
Hey, man, this is how it was.
They'd have like all these different
Little
cups.
Dixie
and-
cups.
Yeah, that's right. And they
Yeah.
make you taste it
Taste
and
it,
tell
Pepsi
them which
Coke.
one you like
Which one you
better.
like.
RC was included in that too, wasn't
RC
it?
Cola?
That I don't know. I
They
can't.
can't
RC
keep
Cola.
up. He can't recall
Oh, no.
such events.
See, I wasn't
So
going. I was
doesn't
going. I didn't go by the taste. I wasn't going by which one tastes better. I was like, yeah, that's Coke. I'd be like, okay,
Well,
yeah.
for the comment section, let me know Coke or Pepsi, and
Or
you know,
RC.
don't even tell me
And
why.
obviously
Just go
from
with
that
Pepsi.
taste test, oh sorry.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
But obviously from the taste test, you can tell that everybody liked Coke because they switched back, and they even enlisted max headroom
Oh my god.
to try to sling some Coke.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not sling Coke, but
what
sorry
we-
YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean like to sell Coca-Cola products.
Hey, it is a well-known fact that Coke used to put Coke in Coke
Dr.
for the
Pimpleton,
fact
man.
of
yeah, when that first really came out.
yeah, I
it
didn't
was-
believe it when someone told me. I was
So
like,
that's why I
what?
have ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Oh, Lord mercy. No, you're fine.
We
You're
were
fine.
just talking about
So-
that too. I'm sorry.
So smoking indoors, that was something that
I'm so glad they got.
I
I'm so glad
I
they
have
stopped
witnessed
that.
it. I did witness it. I used to play. We played. Is it Greenpoint Gallery in Brooklyn in my band, and they let me smoke inside. It was so.
I
strange.
couldn't-
You couldn't see nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't deal
There
with
was
it.
these girls on stage, and they were like, they're playing Fender Mustangs, all dainty, this and that. They wearing like butterfly wings, this and that. You got smoke everywhere. I'm just like, yo, this is so crazy. They did not care. Now maybe it's not like that now, but it was like that then. So
Even your parents smoke in the house if they smoke.
right,
I mean,
I've seen
you know,
that.
I think I was like 7. It was like probably 82, 83 when my dad finally started going outdoors to smoke.
Sure.
And I remember the first time we showed up at a restaurant, this lady came over and says, "Smoking or non-smoking?" And
Yeah, they
my
gave
mom
you
was
choice.
like,
We're like, what?
and my mom explained to me that they had just passed some regulations that they had to segregate smokers from non-smokers, and all this kind of stuff. And that was in the 80s. And by 1991, you couldn't smoke in a mall.
Dang.
It just went that fast.
Hospitals.
It was
You can
great.
smoke in the
Right,
hospitals.
it was great. It was
Okay.
great. It was great when they got rid of all of it.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
can smoke on an
Actually,
airplane.
that's my problem. That is my problem. So,
Yeah.
did you guys like smoking?
I
Or
couldn't
did you like
stand
dealing with
I couldn't
well, you live in a world where it was like accepted. Did you just look the other way?
Oh, it
Did
was
give you a bad
accepted,
day?
yeah.
Well, you didn't have a choice. I mean, you couldn't go today and be like, hey, can you smoke that outside? I'd be like, screw you,
Yeah.
And
So,
and think about it, if you're the smoker, it's gonna be downpouring rain. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go outside and smoke
Yeah.
a cigarette now. You know.
yeah.
So no, that's what I'm saying. I'm so glad when they were like, no smoking nowhere.
See, it was
whatever.
probably my
It's
smoke
beautiful.
that you saw on the stage.
Right.
Because that's what I did. I
It
love
always-
smoking inside.
Right. It always
I
finds the
like it
non-smoker. It always
like
finds
it.
the non-smoker.
Yeah.
And I think what really stopped that was when they started to realize the secondhand smoke people were dying
Yeah.
of lung cancer, and they're going, "I never smoked a day in my life,"
Right.
and the doctor's like, "Sure you did."
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's like when AIDS came out, and they were like, "I'm not gay," and the doctor's like, "Yeah, sure you're not gay." You know what I mean? So
Sorry.
it's stuff like that.
A thing to piggyback on what you said about the smoking and non-smoking sections of the restaurant never made sense to me because
You can
smoking
smoke.
section would always, float
Oh, it
over
was
to
the
the
air. It was
non-smoking.
the same air handler.
Exactly. Like, gosh, smoking or non-smoking? Well, okay, what's that chair? Smoking. That chair? Non-smoking.
They didn't have the science done yet.
Oh,
Well, that's why the regulation made
Gotta
it to
figure it
where
out.
you had separate sections, but the regulation didn't, really think.
Think it through.
Yeah.
So I wanna move into modern times. So Allie, what is it like, hearing these people talk about the decade that you praise so much?
I love it.
Are you shocked?
No.
Really?
No.
I'm super shocked.
It's honestly everything
I
that
feel like I've never lived.
You haven't.
I mean, just like the expressions on their face when they're talking about, how they used to live is just so. amazing, and I love how you guys like come together and can remember all these things.
It was like they've known each other.
Yeah, like, and you just met these guys today,
Yeah.
but when you're talking about something that you live through and admire so much, and you have so much similarities as well as differences, you just come together, and it's like you all lived like together in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As if like
That's how it feels.
my generation, you know, there's so much technology, and we have like to rely on technology now. Like back in the 80s, you guys, you know, it was either you learned it or somebody else taught you, but now we rely so much on technology, and it's just not the way that I want it to be.
It's just like, what are you gonna tell about if you're in 50 give with someone? Hey, remember when we first started texting all the time? And guess what? We still do that. Like,
Well, I mean, now we're in holograms. You know, you got Tupac showing up at Coachella, and you got people showing up. Apparently there's like this company. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. That you can get a hologram and show up anywhere in the world, or maybe they're pushing towards that area. But that's what we're gonna be saying. Right? Remember that one time we went to Red Lobster? It's like, remember that one time we went on Tuesday in hologram? It's like, dude, that hologram cheesesteak.
Like that one SpongeBob episode.
Dude, they be telling you the truth in these shows, man. I'm telling you. Hold up.
You know, I'll say one. We actually did live in a very peculiar time, and I actually think that this is distinctive to us, because if I lived in Georgia or Alabama and you guys lived in New Jersey and Pennsylvania in the 1940s or the 1950s, you would have a very different experience than 1980, because all of a sudden we had satellite TVs, cable television, giving us a shared experience.
Yeah.
You know, and a shared. We all were watching the same 3 channels.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
whether
three
you were
channels.
going on a cable box, or you were going on the little flip thing with the UHF and the VHF and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You still had the same 3 channels, and you probably saw Growing Pains. Your parents probably turned on Three's Company, and we all stayed on sick days with our grandmother and watched The Price is Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so this
the
is a
80s like
shared.
Were you there?
and the
Yeah.
and the soap operas. I remember when I got
Oh,
into
yeah.
soap operas.
Luke and Laura.
Luke and Laura. I started watching soap operas. It must have been the day after the wedding or something.
You missed it.
I missed the wedding. It had to be the day after, because he gets into that fight with
Yeah,
Scotty.
that's right, yeah.
He gets into the fight with Scotty.
Yeah.
The first day I started watching with my
It's
mom.
like, dude, they're
And
solid.
I got into it, and I come home from school and I'd be like, General Hospital?
You remember, here's something to blow your mind. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer
Yeah.
was played one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you missed
One
it,
time.
you
If you missed it,
you
you're
missed
screwed.
it. Yeah.
Like till next year.
Yeah.
So when did A Christmas Story
Frosty?
start? Someone save me from this.
That Christmas
That was
A Christmas Story. You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid.
That was in the 80s, man. It came out in the 80s.
Right, it
But they
feels that
started
way.
the marathon
Dude,
probably in the
it's rough.
last 20 years.
I hate it. I can't.
Yeah.
Was it 80s?
But
I would
that's-
have said 90s, but was it
But
80s?
you would
Wow.
sit
Dude, you
there.
can see it. You can see it. It just feels like
That's,
80s.
it's like anytime you want to watch it now. It's like, it takes the fun out.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about the shared experience. Okay,
Mhm.
we all had a shared experience. It didn't matter who you were.
Mhm.
Like I've met people from all over the world, and they all had the same He-Man toys. It didn't matter who
That
you
is
were,
awesome.
who your mama was, anything. You all had the same He-Man toys,
G.I. Joes
and you had like a G.I. Joe that was missing a thumb, you know, and everybody knew about, you know, these things. But now, every kid has like some different interest, and there's a market for that. Everybody's watching something different on either Hulu or Netflix or Amazon, and maybe everybody's getting in and watching The Rings of Power, or everybody's getting in and they're watching, but I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Me neither.
Neither am
I've
I.
never seen most of these shows, so I'm out of that cultural experience where
Yeah.
used to we all were watching the same stuff.
Yeah, culture
Yeah,
felt
you're
the
right.
same.
You're right.
I mean, even, I'm not even from the 80s. And, you know, I speak about the 90s often because the 90s was a great time, man.
Yes,
That was a good time.
Do you remember when there would be something on TV and it was commercial? And so, like, you would run into the next room to get wood or whatever, and you hear your brother, your parents, it's back on! Yeah,
Come running back in.
you'd be like, hurry!
What I miss.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those things like that only played once a year, and Frosty the Snowman,
Yeah.
the year without Santa Claus.
Right, all the Christmas ones.
Yep,
Well, not
one
once.
day.
Oh, the
And you
Great
would-
Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Yep,
that.
that too.
Great
Nice.
one.
I mean,
Always
it was
watch
one
that.
time and that was it.
But it's amazing though. We watched it every year. We didn't miss.
Like something else happened.
We didn't miss.
And then the VHS came out, and all of a sudden you could get it on VHS for like $20.
Right.
Right.
You know,
I thought.
you
I thought that was the greatest thing since
Yeah.
sliced pizza. When that VCR, home VCR is like, I was like, wait a minute, you can watch a movie at home?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Fun fact about
I'm like,
Wayne.
this is unbelievable.
Wayne has bought 4 cars in the last whole family obviously, and Luke doesn't count, so I'll say 3. Wayne has bought 3 cars because your wife.
Poor man, what?
No.
Make it sound like I got mine.
He got these. He got the top of the line, like the nicest interior, this and that, and he's like, "And it got a CD player." I'm like, "Wait, you know it's 2020? They're trying to do you a favor." And he's like, "Nah, don't like it." He's like, "Needs chrome." I was like, "He got the black rims. This thing, decade goes." Nah, needs chrome rims. He's like, "I need white socks. I don't know why these kids are wearing black socks." He's like, "You know what?
Okay,
You don't
okay,
get
you want
it.
to do it? Okay,
You're not from New Jersey.
Now, I
You
don't know
get
about,
it.
I don't
We're
know about you
Springsteen."
guys. I don't know about you guys, but when we grew up, okay, if you wore, who wore black socks and plaid shorts? Your grandfather,
That's
Yeah.
right.
okay? We wouldn't be called dead in
Mhm.
black socks and plaid shorts. Now all the kids wear black socks and
With
plaid
sandals,
shorts and
with
all that.
sandals.
Right, and I'm like,
I don't get the sandal thing.
I
Yeah.
only own black socks now. Now I have a pair of white socks that come up to here and have the but that's the that's the
Oh my
only
God,
pair I own.
fashion.
Everything else, yeah.
All right, Wayne, man.
The fashion. That was a good time.
yeah.
Do you guys remember Jams? The
Yes.
shorts?
Do you remember Rat Tails?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. She said mullet earlier, and I mean, the rat tail, man. It was like a mullet except just a string.
Oh, okay, yes,
Remember
yes,
sometimes
yes.
the guys
yes.
would braid it and sometimes
Yeah.
it was just like all like it was like this much hair.
That's crazy.
It was it's cringy to you guys, yeah. But it's just like that was the cool thing.
It was the
You
cool
know?
thing, and actually, some of my paintings, I've been trying to nail, this theme of a rat tail competition. Because you get out on the playground, someone said their rat tail's longer than yours, and you'd be like, no, man. And so you both have to stand back to back and hold it back on your back to see how low it did.
Yep.
And there'd have to be at least 2 witnesses to see who got the longer rat tail.
Yes.
And if you tipped your head
Oh,
back,
yep.
oh, that was cheating.
Yep.
I mean, that was grounds for fight.
And what age is this?
Oh man, this was mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Do you guys
85.
remember Red A with the pinky ball?
Red
You would throw it against the wall, a brick wall at school during recess, and you caught it. But if you went and threw it, and then somebody else went to get it, and they missed it and it touched them, they had to run to the wall quick before somebody grabbed the ball and threw it to the wall.
I remember the game, but I don't remember the name.
It was called Red A. Yeah, and then if the ball beat you to the wall, you had to stand like this
Mhm.
against the wall.
And they got to peg you with it.
And they all
I
get
just
to pay you
remember.
with
I
it.
just remember playing a lot of dodgeball.
Dodgeball, bombardment, yes.
Yeah.
But-
Bombardment.
But we had different kind of dodgeball games. Like we had one where if you were out, you weren't out. You went and we called it like the prison. You were against the wall, so your teammates could throw you the ball and you could like catch it and try to hit somebody to get back in.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
So we did that, and then we had one with 3 pins, and I would always make the girls guard the pins, and I would yell at them if they moved, because every time the ball would be thrown out, they would move, and if they hit the pin, I'd be like screaming
If you do
at
that nowadays, you get a lawsuit.
Oh yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, the playgrounds back then, metal bars and wood over concrete slabs.
Yes. The
Okay.
safest playgrounds
I mean-
ever.
They really. I understand why they have those old tires down on everything now. Because I mean, yeah, there were tons of injuries.
Yeah, because those slides on a hot day.
Oh my god.
I think my skin is still at Marble Newtown.
My parents had a black
I've been through that.
Chevette with black leather.
Yeah.
Okay? And Alabama
Wow.
summers, sitting on that. I mean, and I remember just screaming and being like, and then this chrome belt, seatbelt buckle.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you didn't have to wear seatbelts, so we never did. But you'd sit on it, and you put
Yeah.
your leg on it, and it would like brand you.
Yeah. Seatbelts were not required. I remember people driving around with their kid who was like Wes's age,
On the back of a truck. Pick up
Oh, I
truck.
used to go in the back of the truck all the time.
Well,
What
absolutely.
about like station wagons?
Oh yeah,
The
You'd
station
sit in the back of the
The way
station
back.
wagon,
Yep.
in the far back.
Yeah,
That's
far
what
back.
Yep.
You'd have the window open in the back.
Yeah.
You'd sit there and make faces at the people behind you. This was the entertainment back then. It was just, but now it's like,
My grandfather.
It's child abuse now if you did that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
well, you get
Yeah.
a ticket.
Yeah, you're done.
But my grandfather would go and he'd clip coupons every Sunday. He'd get Sunday paper and he'd clip coupons. And he would just take all the coupons and he'd throw them in the back. And then next Sunday he'd clip all the coupons. And he never actually used the coupons. I'm sure he did that at some point. But so we'd sit back there on just this, it's like a pile of leaves. And when he would turn a curve, us grandkids would be like, you know, because I mean the seats are already slick, you know. And in the summer we'd roll the windows down, we just watch as they like whiz past us out the window.
That's so cool.
Well,
littering.
it didn't keep Alabama beautiful.
Yeah. So 1982. Found this little fact. The Machine, Time Magazine. Do you guys remember that? Time Magazine named a computer Man of the Year.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
I told you where
So is that the
where it all
beginning?
started.
Okay, so that's the beginning of the technological computers.
Computers. Yep. Where it all started.
That's scary. I would be terrified if I saw that.
That's when the Atari came out, right?
It's
82.
hard to- yeah.
So is that the video? Is the 80s like a video game renaissance?
Who's I can't think of his name. Microsoft guy.
Bill
Gates.
Gates.
Bill Gates. Okay, so
We'll say Bill Yates for the YouTube
Okay.
algorithm.
um
I don't know if I have to do that, but I'm just
he wouldn't have been
He's
the original guy. IBM was looking at somebody else and they went to him and
Make sure you don't say anything to offend him. I can't take him. I don't have as much power and as much
well
power online as this man.
what happened was they
I
were
can't edit this out.
they were looking at this other guy. And when IBM came to his house, he went there. They had an appointment. He went there. He went like fishing or something. So that ticked them off. They went there, and then they got Bill Gates. But Bill Gates wouldn't have been the multi-billionaire, you know.
Bill Yates.
No.
I really don't know. Maybe someone counts up. I'm able to say that.
But
We can do the beep,
William Yates.
Bill. What was that? That was good.
bitty.
I know
William
you-
Yates.
William Yates. Okay.
Yeah, that's
That sounds sweet.
That's the new. That's the
We
new.
get sued, it's your fault, Wayne.
yeah,
William
we're talking about
Yates.
80s here.
I know.
Yeah, I'll give you
Yeah.
that. It's just a name drop. I just want to be sure. You never know. I can say one thing, next thing you know, you get sued by.
He knows. He lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you guys' favorite bands of the 80s? Let's get there.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, the 80s
I'm gonna tell you
all
super
time.
bands right now. The two best that I think would have been, if you were to pick somebody, would have been either Van Halen or U2.
Oh yeah, Van Halen.
I think that would have been your
But
two.
you don't think Guns N' Roses?
No, because Guns N' Roses' first album came out in '89.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was towards the end.
I'm talking about the decade
Yeah,
itself.
the meat of the 80s.
Right. Fair. So Phil Collins is a big 80s guy, right?
Yeah.
Was he a big staple in pop culture then? Was it just something that
Genesis.
we look?
He was Genesis.
Are
He
we
was
looking-
Genesis.
Are we looking back like, okay, so me and Ali's perspective, are we looking back on the 80s like, oh, all these people were huge on the TV at all time, like Phil Collins, Wham, this and that. It seems like they just ruled the airwaves. Is that not the case?
It depends on the year. I mean,
Right.
like if you were in 1980 or 81, and you know the Beatles were still relevant at this time.
What? I didn't know.
You know, I mean, Simon and Garfunkel was still getting some play on radio and stuff. But you started, I remember in like 80, 81, Air Supply. Air Supply was
Oh my gosh.
everywhere. When you go to a
Yeah.
store, somebody was, it didn't matter where you were, they, making love out of nothing at all was playing,
Yeah.
And,
It was kind of
Then-
like the end of the 70s with the beginning, like, because that was like soft,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just, in the early 80s, I didn't think there was anyone greater than Laura Branigan. You know?
Oh, yeah.
The lucky one and self-control and all
Yes.
that. I just thought she was so great. And she was on Solid Gold all the time. And man, it was so
Solid
such a big
Gold.
deal.
Solid Gold dancers.
And if you
Oh my
weren't
gosh.
watching Solid Gold and Soul Train, you were not plugged into music.
So can I ask you
Yeah.
a question? Have you ever seen Austin Powers? Or what is that?
Yes.
Is that,
Yeah.
Austin
I
Powers.
felt weird saying that. There's this thing called Gold Member, and like
Mhm.
they're all singing. They're like Silent Gold. Is that like a
No.
mimic of that? I never knew
No.
why they said that. It was like the Beyonce thing. She's like,
Solid Gold. Do you know what Solid Gold was?
No.
Okay, Solid
So I didn't know if
Gold
it was a spoof.
was like an American Bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Okay, but it was more like disco and more like
Like
It was pop
Rhythm
music.
and
It was pop
blues.
music. It was top
just
40.
like I said,
Yeah.
Soul Train and Solid Gold, man.
Yes.
You'd watch Soul Train right after Fat Albert on Saturday morning cartoon. Right?
His
This is what
context
you
is
did.
great.
And
That's what you
then
did.
in the evenings,
Yeah.
you'd watch Solid Gold. And how big was Solid Gold? When they dropped We Are the World, it was released, if I remember, on Solid Gold at night. Like, you know, they kept talking about, man, you know, you can't miss this, and all of a sudden here's all these stars singing to, you know, feed people in
Africa.
Ethiopia,
Right.
in Africa, yeah. And I mean, like, We Are the World, you know, we all heard it. And I remember, man, I was cooking in this new thing we call a microwave, right? And I had been told, you know, a lot of rules about this.
Don't stare through the screen.
I ended up blowing a hole in the top of that one. Hard boiling an egg in a plastic cup. I didn't realize that was a mortar tube. But, you know, there were all these rules, and I was cooking in it, and I was being very careful. And they mentioned, we're going to play We Are the World. And I screamed, and my parents thought I burned myself, you know, cooking ramen in this thing. They were like, what happened? What happened? Did you burn yourself? I'm like, no.
Solid Gold time.
Yeah, Solid Gold. Yeah. We Are the World.
It's on.
Yep. And it was such a big deal, man. I mean, but yeah, so, yeah. And, you know, Michael Jackson came out.
Do you remember
around that,
Thriller?
and- yes.
Yeah.
I
Do I
think every
remember
person
Thriller?
in America was sitting in front of that TV. I didn't do
Wow.
that.
Wow, guys.
I didn't do that.
I
That's-
had-
that was Michael.
It's all good.
I had the single glove, man.
So did
I had the single glove, and I had the Michael Jackson jacket with all the zippers, and you could zip the sleeves up.
Oh, the Thriller jacket.
So was that dance popular just because of MTV?
What's that?
The Thriller
Thriller
music
dance.
video.
Yeah, the videos were great.
This was before MTV.
Oh, really?
No.
we
It
saw
was-
it on.
well-
No, they're saying that Thriller was the first video ever, and I'm thinking to myself,
No,
how
That
do
was
you
the
call
video
it?
killed
Well,
the radio star. That was the
Yeah.
first video of MTV.
Yeah, I think
The second video was
I think it was the first one directed by a movie.
the
director,
second
right?
video was Pat Benatar's
Hit me with your best shot.
no, it was
Love is a Battlefield.
nope.
Oh, we're gonna really mess you up and just start saying names.
You better run.
Why?
It
Not the
is.
second one.
No, but yeah, MTV. That was.
I
That
still
was
think I still
MTV
to
was
this
huge.
day
Was a huge thing.
think Pat Benatar should sue the producer for letting him get that terrible bass sound on that album because it could have been so much better.
What's
if they
what
had
record?
Wait,
the
Love
album
and
had
Battlefield?
some pretty good songs on it, but I just the bass song sound is just really
He-
sloppy.
There's a lot of things in like
What, for Love
it's
is
like
Battlefield?
modern.
It's
Yeah.
no,
sloppy.
maybe the song's on there.
No, the songs "You Better Run." You better run.
No, You Better Run was on their
But MTV, that
first
really
album or second album.
that gave us something else to do. I mean,
What did your parents think of MTV?
oh my gosh, I remember Boy George came out, and
It was a
my
problem,
dad. What?
It was a problem, I'm guessing, right?
Oh yeah, in the beginning, it wasn't a problem. But my dad looked at me and goes, "What the hell is that?" You know? He was like, because they weren't exposed to that stuff. I mean,
No.
maybe that's when it was like Elvis, and their parents saw Elvis.
Right.
You know, my dad's like, "What is that thing?"
No.
You know, meaning for one of the singers. You know, but we just got kind of used to it, I guess. You know, oh check him out. You know, he's wearing all these different colors. His hair all you know, and then Madonna comes out 5 years later on an awards show with pyramids on her chest.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, I guess while we're talking about it, Joan, we talked about Joan the first time through, so I think we need to do it again. So Allie, would you so happily grab that pop? Is it out of range?
No, I'll get it.
All right.
that's broken you. How much trouble I'm going to get into,
Really?
even though on proof I did not push it. I didn't do anything.
That's okay. It's okay.
I'm telling you.
It's okay. Here she goes. Here she goes. Book on Molly Crew. What you got? Tommy with Anthony. Who?
Oh, low battery. Just
Oh, battery.
Sorry.
I'm gonna press it. There you go.
Are you gonna edit that out on the card?
Oh yeah. Or I'll just leave it. I like it to be natural. I got nothing to prove.
I didn't have
We're
to
doing
worry
this
about
together.
low battery back then.
Yeah, we didn't. we didn't. Your games would be like, sure. And you're like, I got new batteries. The beat boom boxes, remember?
Oh man, yeah, that's what
I couldn't afford them because you had to have like 8 double D batteries or whatever.
We always plugged our gym
Right.
because of that.
Because you can afford the batteries.
You can afford the batteries, man.
Man, last
Those are D cells.
Yeah,
that's
that stuff's expensive, man.
So, what do you guys think of Joan Jett?
I love her.
There you go for the camera. There's Joan. Oh. Okay, it won't focus, but it's in spirit. So, I'm not a fan.
Runaways, right?
Runaways.
Yeah. I mean,
We called her a 4-chord princess earlier. He likes it. See, he gets it. He gets it. That was like a compliment.
Yeah, I like that.
She's the girl Kurt Cobain without a lot of the problems.
my
I
daughter
think
loves her.
Yeah.
Get out, really.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
she's 4, but she.
Why? Why do you think it is? Do you think it's the person, or is it like the music, the easiness?
It's the idea, you know. I mean,
She
it's
said the same thing.
it was the idea of yes, I'm a girl, but I can still rock.
And she started at such a young age too. So I feel like girls that want to get into music. I mean, she was 13 when she got her first guitar. I feel like girls that want to start playing guitar can look up to that and be like, hey, she started at such a young age. This is my opportunity to learn and gather more knowledge about playing a guitar or any instrument.
Yeah.
Really.
I think I thought she was awesome, and she was just she was different, she was unique, but she was herself.
Right.
And I think that has to do with a lot of the music back then. Like, you were just yourself. You didn't, how do I want to explain this? Like, Wham came out, obviously. They were like a different sound. Like, you stuck with your sound. You didn't go out of your,
Sure.
to try and cover somebody else's sound or sound like somebody else. And it's like, back then, we were ourselves. You weren't trying to be, do you know what I mean? You weren't trying to
That
be.
came later, though. I mean, later you had to start, like, because everybody was wearing boat shoes and like a pink T-shirt and a white sports coat.
All right, well, you
Coming-
went to
Miami
the
Vice.
Oh,
No,
okay.
when Miami
I thought-
Vice came out, everybody was
What's
wearing
the
that.
time frame? Is that coming out or going in?
That was like the mid '80s, and prior to that, just about everybody was wearing like running gear, like Dire Straits, the
Yeah.
so-
They looked awesome though.
or wearing white T-shirts and a bandana, a red bandana and blue jeans. I mean, Bruce Springsteen. So these individuals would come out. I mean, how many people dress like Madonna after Madonna?
Sure.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it-
stars still do the Marilyn Monroe thing. They still act like them, which is kind of weird.
it really informed, music was informing so much of the style and also television. I mean,
Sure.
seriously, Miami Vice cannot be understated for
Is
what it
Miami
did
Vice
to-
the show where the guy wears the white suit with the light blue shirt?
That's the one.
That is such a great, that's
Was
a
it
Miami
Phillips
look.
and Croc?
Really.
Yeah.
is.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Tubs.
That, a little bit
Tubs,
of crack and a cigarette. Miami.
And so everybody would wear the boat shoes without socks. I mean,
And that's where the facial hair became cool, because usually
Yeah, Wayne does not. He does not fall for the facial hair thing. We'll wrap this up. We're coming up pretty far actually, 47 minutes. But we're gonna wrap it up on this. Wayne don't like facial hair. That's the problem.
What?
Wayne don't like facial hair.
Wayne? Well,
I
Maybe
shave,
'cause you can't grow it.
Oh,
I shave three times a week. So, but remember, that's from the '80s. Remember, that was the thing too about the '80s. The '80s was the prep look,
Yeah.
oh, God.
especially in New Jersey. You had to look good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had to look good. It wasn't you don't look like a bum.
Right.
So,
Was it
I've always still
preppies?
have that
I mean,
mentality.
you look good.
It was either
Yeah.
preppies, jocks, or we called them druggies. You
Were
the
those
people.
like the
Stoners.
That was
Stoners or
stoners.
burnouts.
Stoners.
So you were a prep,
I
you were
was
a
a
jock,
stoner.
or you were a stoner.
Now, is that considered hippie, or is that a different thing?
That was a
think hippie
different. There was a
yeah.
big difference between hippies
Wow.
and stoners, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So are hippies in it for the culture aspect of it, and stoners are just in it to get fried? Is that what it is?
Hippies really weren't in the '80s. It
Yeah.
was like in the early '70s and then in the '90s.
Yeah.
Hippies started coming back in the '90s.
Yeah, the stoners, they wanted to kick your ass while they're smoking a blunt. They were the stoners. Like, they were black leather,
Aggressive and
very aggressive, but you could be friends with them too,
right.
But it's just,
The stoners always had like this sense of community.
yeah.
With them. It's kind of strange, but yeah, it really does.
Or you did the preps or you did the jocks.
Do you mind if I ask a question? How do you all feel that the 80s is slowly but surely coming back to the generation now.
Just keep our interest concise. We're gonna cut it.
As far as
It would be
dress,
great.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was even happening, but
Well,
It's-
dress
that
is
would be
coming
great.
back.
Yeah, Fender guitars released a whole 80s line. I mean, the 80s music guitars becoming like a big staple
The
in music
fashion's
again.
coming back.
Fashion's coming back.
But it'll never be like the original.
Well, that's the thing.
No,
I mean, these are
yeah.
symbols of the 80s, but I mean, if you really want the 80s to come back, get off your phone.
Right.
Yes,
Go
yes.
for a walk.
Fist pump.
Right.
Live
You know
a
what that
life.
is? I do.
Right.
Actually talk to friends. Invite
Right.
all of your friends over. Get a bunch of Cheetos and Grapico or something, and play Dungeons and Dragons.
That was actually one of the prompts. It's like
and
your
watch
mother-
and watch movies. Like,
Yes,
watch
get rid of
movies.
your phones.
Yeah.
Get a movie.
Right.
Like, do you have any idea how many crappy movies I watched because there was nothing at the video store that I hadn't seen?
Let's get
Yeah,
video.
yeah, because all the new releases are always
Yeah,
gone.
and they're all
Yeah.
they were so expensive.
Right,
You know, you
yeah.
can get like 5 movies for $1
Yeah.
in over on these shelves,
Right.
man. And I mean, that's a whole weekend. That was awesome.
But yeah, you're exactly right. Get rid of the phones.
Get rid
That's
of your
probably
phone.
the number one thing.
Yeah.
Get rid of your phone. I mean, I think that we as a society are going to be so much better when we start using the tool for like what it was meant for, you know? Like we all said, okay, well, I'm only going to carry this around for emergencies.
That's
Well,
how it
you know
started.
what? You literally can't even watch your kid's soccer game because you're so plugged into the
Yeah.
cyborg.
Or you saw this TikTok, and then also with that, with the phone now, there's followings, and people are doing these stupid
Just to get a
Things.
look.
just to get a like
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and it's
I think that's why I won't really over edit these videos because I don't care that much. I don't
Good.
have to care that much.
because that's how we were.
Because if you
We
want to
didn't
just
care.
watch the content, just watch it and be, not saying this like rudely, but just be present with us.
Yeah.
We're doing
Yeah.
this just to be present in the room.
Yeah,
I think people like people.
so you can watch it on your phone.
If you have one friend that had a camcorder, one friend with a camcorder in the neighborhood, the amount of ridiculous videos
Oh, sure.
that were made.
Sure.
I mean, like with whatever props you could find. I mean, unscripted. Some of them were scripted, and everybody was off script. I mean, they were great, and yet all of the youth has something that they can record all of their songs on, all of their movies on, all of their.
Convenience.
And instead of making stuff, they're consuming.
Right.
Nobody's creating; they're just consuming.
Yeah.
Well, I say nobody. I'm sorry. I shouldn't generalize, but I think that everybody needs a hobby.
Oh man, you're preaching. You're
Yeah.
preaching. I agree. I say it all the time.
Yep.
But on that note, I want to thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for talking.
Thanks for-
Thanks for having us.
It's been very interesting. We're gonna do it again, and maybe I'll pick a different decade, or maybe it'll be a very controversial topic. I'm not very sure.
Why don't you just do part 2? Because
Part
there's
two.
so much more
That's
we
what
want
I
to talk
told them.
about.
There's so much
Yeah,
stuff
we didn't
can
even
talk
I
get
don't
to
mind.
late 80s.
Yeah.
The 80s is a series, man. This
Yeah.
can be intro to, you know. So
So much happened.
so if you stay tuned with us, thank you guys for watching, listening. I am Pat the Riffer. I'm your host, and I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned.